Praise the Lord. The enemy tried to stop us. The enemy tried to block us. But I was talking about. Let's go back to the first beginning. It's coming up John 14, verse 14. It says, if you ask in everything in my name, I will do it. If you love me, you will keep my commandment. If I title this message, are you keeping God's commandments? Question mark. Sometimes we don't keep God's commandments. Sometimes God has commanded us, and He said, if you love me, and you say, oh, I love God, but somebody do me wrong, I'm going to punch him. But He said, if you love me, you will keep my commandment. That my love thy neighbor as I have loved you. So sometimes we get beyond ourselves, and we want to try to fight. We want to try to box. We want to try to knock. But sometimes we got to be the authority and the power now to say, I am the child of the King. I cannot break my Father's command. I love God. And He said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandment. That's the opening acts that He's asking us to do. But sometimes we break God's commandments. We want to cover our neighbor's wives. Oh, I ain't cover my next door neighbor. I'm talking about people you pass. That is your neighbor. We have broke our father and mother. Our days will be longer. We have committed murder. We have done all them commandments that God has told us not to break, and we have broke half of them. Sometimes we got to be authority enough to say, I am a child of the King. I cannot do this. I am His own. John 15 verse 10 says, if you keep my commandment, you will abound in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abound in His love. Basically, some of He's saying this in this verse. I'm gonna go down and read some more. Basically, some of He's saying in this verse. He loved His Father. He's kept His Father's commandments. Why we cannot abound in His love and keep our Father's commandments? Father, and you know what I'm saying? He kept His Father's commandments. Why we can't do the same thing He do? But we don't. We don't. Verse 12 says, that is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. As I have loved you. Let's repeat verse 12 again. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Sometimes we don't want to do that. Sometimes we don't want to keep His commandment. We don't want to keep His love like He has loved us. Verse 13 says, greater love is no one who lays down one life for a friend. God laid His life down for us. Why we cannot keep His commandment? Verse 14 says, you are my friends if you do whatever I command you. We're God's friends. Verse 17. This is I command you, that you love one another. He's commanded us to love one another. This is my favorite one right here. Verse 18 says, if the world hate you, you know that they hated me before it. Means they hated God. They hated Jesus before they hated us. Somebody says, are we better than Him to get hated? Are we better than Him to get persecuted, to get slapped around, to get knocked around, to get talked about? The world hated Him first. So, the world's going to hate us too. Because, people will go around, so that's one of them Jesus freaks. Or one of them Jesus Bible thumpers. I'm thumping and I love being one. That's why He says right here that if the world hated you, you know that they hated me before them. Oh, they persecute Him. The man on his left said, if you really the king, if you really the King Jesus, you would get me down from here. And the man on his left, on his right says, forgive me that I have sinned. And Jesus said, you will have a place in paradise. That's what he said to the man on the cross with him. You will have a place in paradise. Chapter 13, verse 34 says, a new commandment I have given to you, that you love one another as I have loved you. You are the only love one another. That is a new commandment. A new commandment. That you love one another as I have loved you. Sometimes we don't want to do that. Sometimes we want to have our cake and eat it too. So basically simple, I'm saying this. He wants us to keep his commandments. From Exodus up to John, he's talking about his commandments. So why can we not keep his commandments? And sometimes we get beyond our means about, I don't want to keep no commandments. I refuse to keep God's commandments, but God kept his Father's commandments. We know better than him. My readers, just always remember, God had one more day in your life. Not because you need it, but someone else needed you. I want y'all to remember that today. Remember that today. Ain't because you need it, it's because he gave it to you. He went by your house and blew a breath of life in your body. Remember this too, dear God. I do not ask you. Dear God, I do not ask you to make my life easy, but I ask you to give me the strength to face all my trials. I want y'all to remember that too. Remember, it's like when you put gas in your car and you need to air your fuel. You're asking God to give you some more little fuel in your body to face your trials and tribulations each day in your life. Till then, God bless you. It must be upon you. That's my blessing to you today.